everyone, my name is Arlette. Welcome to my final presentation. So today I will be talking about the opioid abuse in the United States and how public health informatics can help conquer to combat this crisis. It is a well-known fact that the United States has been struggling with a drug war with opioids. So let's begin and dive in. So what is an opioid? Opioid is a class of drug that binds to opioid receptors in the brain. The drugs being fentanyl, heroin, codeine, morphine, and prescription drugs such as oxycodone and Vicodin, and many other drugs. So why opioids? And how are they being used, or why are they being used? So firstly, it relaxes the body and it relieves pain. So because of the chemicals that it contains, they relieve pain and overall relaxes the body. And they're being used for patient care, so prescription opioids are being used to treat patients for moderate to severe pain. And if you can see, I do have a little image down below. The first image being the normal activity for one who doesn't use opioids, so they have normal activity, and then for an opioid user, there's a lot more activity, as you can see. That's just what causes the opioids to react to the brain. And then health issues with opioids in the United States. So like I mentioned, the United States is going through a nationwide opioid crisis. So we're tackling this through a national level. So the CDC states that nearly 70% of the deaths in 2018 involves with opioids. That almost comes out to be 128 people die every day from opioid overdose. So some of the issues, first being overprescribing. Many doctors prescribe too much medication for patients that's not very necessary for them. And then following addiction. So since doctors overprescribe, they're highly addictive. So it only takes someone a couple weeks to be dependent on opioids. And once they're dependent on the drugs, their tolerance may increase and could lead to misuse of prescription drugs. And one can turn into legal opioids to get the morphine high that they're itching for, or what if they need a higher dosage, they might look into the legal drugs. Next, within our healthcare system, there's lack of communication in healthcare systems between clinics to hospitals and to rehabs. There's not a lot of communication to see where the problems are like starting, and which can bring a lot of problems. And there's a lack of surveillance. Since there's very little communication between the healthcare systems, there's also little communication to state, so which makes it harder to tackle the opioid crisis. So how can informatics help? So big data is a big one. Data is a huge factor for advanced research. Collection of data over opioid abuse and overdose can help monitor the trends and to fully better understand the epidemic and lead to better public health response. So the more data that we have, the better information that we have, and we can get to it faster and how to address those issues. So better surveillance as well. So monitoring programs can minimize the risk of opioid abuse for patients, such as preventing prescription errors and calculate abuse deterrent opioid formulas. So having more surveillance and having formulas to be able to see what's going on and able to monitor the clinics, hospitals, and then pharmacies as well. So what the surveillance systems can help with data mining. So data mining can help with prevention and predict the patient's outcome and point out the red flags with patients. So over the semester, we read a article over Target, and it discussed how they predict how one can predict their the customer's pregnancy. Sorry. Well, since they're able to predict who's pregnant and then give them coupons for any like baby stuff or baby formula or pregnancy vitamins or anything. Um, Data mining can help for to monitor and help predictions for patients for treatments and able to like keep track of the medication and whether if the patient is increasing their dosage and their medication, and we can also like present subtle decision making to help treat the patients. So data mining can just make any red flags and then help prevent the risk of the patient's addiction. And then next, the health information exchange programs, which it could allow medical records to be exchanged within the health systems. Criminal records and rehab records. I think it's important to have all these programs all connected, like pharmacies, rehabs, clinics, and hospitals, just to have that communication. The better communication, the better methods we'll able to have to tackle the opioid crisis. And then it can also help establish the connections between state to state and help the nation as one. Some of the limitations, firstly, privacy, of course. Patients have the right to have privacy to their medical records, which it can make it difficult for public health informatics to be able to share and connect one's data and have like a database. So they do have the right. It is a barrier that we have to overcome. But we should able to have like policies to overcome these privacy issues. So funding is always one of them. So IT health requires funding, and lack of funding could be an issue for hospitals or clinics, rehab clinics, and pharmacies, depending if they're not able to like support the programs and the systems within their clinics. The health information exchange issues. It could be difficult to recruit all the healthcare systems to rehab and criminal records to be exchangeable. So I think it's important to have like criminal records within medical records, just because we're dealing with drugs. It would be nice to know like their history, the patient's history, and like able to like tackle those issues. But it might be an issue because of privacy. Back again, but we should able to have restrictions, and we should have policies not to go overboard with the patient's privacy. All right. And I believe that will be it. Thank you for hearing me out. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.